My name is Shy Owen. I'm 47 years old and work as a web designer. 5 years ago, I left my company and started working independently. Thankfully, I've been doing really well. I earn more than 5 times what I used to make, and I live in the top floor unit of a tall, beautiful condo that also serves as my home office. 3 years ago, I met Mark through Ashley, who was my former boss and also Mark's cousin. Mark was kind, gentle, and attractive. He looked younger than his age. Ashley kept encouraging me to meet him. I wasn't planning to get married, but I agreed to go on a date with him. We hit it off, and 6 months later, we got engaged. My parents passed away long ago, and I only have a brother, so at the family meeting, my brother and his wife came on my side. Mark's parents and cousin Ashley came on his side. Everything went smoothly, but I still remember my sister-in-law saying, "This feels kind of stiff." I didn't think much of it then, but now, those words make a lot more sense. After we got married, Mark moved into my condo. He had a tough job. He left early in the morning and came home very late at night, sometimes after midnight. He barely had any time to rest, and his salary was just a quarter of mine. I was worried about his health and gently suggested he consider changing jobs. But instead of taking it well, Mark got really upset. His face turned angry. "Are you telling me to quit my job because I earn less than you?" he shouted. It surprised me. We had never fought before, and I didn't mean to insult him. I quickly apologized and said I was only worried about his health. He calmed down and said sorry, too, but from that moment on, I knew I had to be careful with what I said about his job. As time went on, Mark started spending even more nights at the office. I didn't understand how he could enjoy such a stressful job, but he seemed fine, so I just tried to make home a comfortable place for him. I also handled all the finances since I was earning more. Then one day, when his mother had back pain and was in the hospital, Mark asked me if we could increase the amount of money we were sending to his parents. We were already helping them financially, but I agreed again, partly because I didn't have parents of my own and wanted to be generous. After that, though, his parents started asking for more and more money, sometimes directly, sometimes through Mark. They knew I would probably say no, so they always went to Mark, especially his mother, and he almost always agreed with them. Eventually, his parents didn't just want money, they wanted to stay at our house. When his father came home from the hospital, instead of going back to their own house, they came to ours and stood outside the door, asking to stay, just until Dad recovered. It was a shock. I wasn't ready for that, but Mark didn't even look at me. He had already talked about this with them. I felt betrayed, but I gave in and said they could stay for a while. Soon, their stay became permanent. They started treating my home like their own. They sat on the couch, judged everything, and made comments like, "Wow, this place is so much better than our old house." They brought more and more of their belongings and took over the space. 2 years passed like that. I worked, paid all the bills, and did all the chores, while they relaxed and went out to enjoy themselves. Mark barely spent time with me. We hadn't even gone on a honeymoon. One day, after I made lunch and told them I had a meeting at 1 p.m., I went into my room and started the call. But just 10 minutes into the meeting, Mark suddenly burst in with his parents behind him. He said loudly, "This is where me and my parents live." I was shocked. I quickly apologized to the people in the meeting and ended the call. I walked out and asked, trying to stay calm, "Why are you doing this all of a sudden?" That's when my father-in-law spoke up proudly, "We'll pay off the mortgage, so you can leave." I almost laughed. My mother-in-law had never worked a day in her life, and my father-in-law didn't have a job either, but Mark stood with them, not with me. That was the final straw. "All right," I said firmly, "I'll leave." They all looked surprised. I added, "The mortgage is $5,000 a month." Then I quietly went to pack my suitcase. I was serious this time. Luckily, I had a week-long business trip starting the next day. I took my suitcase, my bank book, and walked to the door. "Goodbye," I said as I left. I checked into a hotel that night and immediately contacted a real estate agent. My first step was to transfer the house title, and its mortgage, to Mark. If he and his parents wanted to claim the house, they could have it, along with the $5,000 a month payment. I felt free. The house had become a battlefield, not a home. Now, I could focus on my work and my peace of mind. I was finally moving forward, with no guilt and no regrets. After accepting that my marriage was truly over, I asked the real estate agent to help me find a new home, and a new office too. My job could be done from anywhere. But I still needed a quiet and private office space where I could speak with clients without interruption. The agent soon found a beautiful apartment about 40 minutes from my old house. It had strong security and a peaceful atmosphere, perfect for work and rest. When I went to see it, I fell in love with the place immediately. It felt like a reward for all the pain I had endured. I bought it on the spot. While I waited for all the documents and formalities to be completed, I stayed in temporary housing. Once everything was ready, I hired a professional moving company to pack and move all my belongings. On the day of the move, Mark and his parents actually came to help, but not without making rude and hurtful remarks about me. One of the movers even whispered to me, "You have a difficult family," which made my face burn with embarrassment. A week after I settled into my new apartment, Mark called me out of the blue. He sounded nervous and confused. He asked if I had changed the name on the mortgage. I could hear his father shouting in the background, telling me to come back. I was surprised. They were the ones who had told me to leave. "But we're getting divorced, right? Why should I keep paying the mortgage if you're the one living there?" Mark asked, acting as if he didn't remember everything that had happened. I reminded him calmly about the conversation we'd had during a web meeting, the one I had recorded, just like I recorded all my important calls for documentation. When I mentioned the recording, Mark went silent. He had clearly forgotten. Then I explained that the mortgage would still need to be paid, and that it required a credit check. Mark had no idea what I was talking about and asked me how much the payments were. I couldn't help but laugh. He'd seen the documents before, but he clearly hadn't read them. The mortgage was $5,000 per month. Mark didn't respond. He just sat there in stunned silence. That's when his mother grabbed the phone and started questioning me. $5,000? That's more than his whole salary. That can't be right, she said, shocked. I could tell she had no idea how little money Mark actually made. She insisted that I was lying. "Mark sends us $4,000 every month. If his salary is only $4,000, then he must be sending us everything. That's impossible," she shouted. I stayed calm and told her to look on the shelf near the living room entrance. I had left Mark's salary slips there. She hung up on me, but I could hear her in the background rummaging around. Mark tried to stop her, but she soon found the truth. "There's not even $4,000 here, Mark, what's going on?" she yelled, her voice full of disbelief. It turned out that Mark's salary was even less than I thought. I spoke loudly one last time, "Just so you know, the mortgage is $5,000 a month. Take care." Then I ended the call and didn't pick up again. Mark kept calling, but I didn't answer. Instead, I texted him, "Let's discuss this through lawyers from now on." I hired a lawyer, and she handled all further communication. Mark's side finally responded with a document that made me laugh. They were claiming they were the victims. They accused me of lying and said I had caused them emotional stress. I looked at my lawyer and said, "I'm sorry, but this is ridiculous." The divorce wasn't finalized yet, but it was clear I didn't want anything more to do with Mark. Then my lawyer handed me a letter. "Mark doesn't seem to know about this, but his family wants a meeting to discuss everything," she said. I agreed but asked to meet far from where I lived now, just to be safe. At the meeting, Mark didn't even show up. Instead, a young lawyer greeted me politely and told me that his real client was Mark's mother. He said Mark sat through the discussions with his head down, barely speaking, while his parents loudly accused me of lying. The lawyer gave me a report filled with false accusations. My lawyer and I calmly went through each one. I explained everything, and my lawyer presented proof. The opposing lawyer nodded as he listened, clearly seeing the truth. He seemed surprised by how different my side of the story was and admitted, "You've got a strong case." Later, he left the room quietly. After that, my lawyer and I began preparing to demand full compensation and expose all their lies. About a month later, Mark and his parents agreed to meet again. They looked tired and worn out when they arrived. His mother stared at me like I was the enemy. "This place again? Who do you think you are? Enjoying all this while we suffer?" she asked bitterly. It was ironic. This was a restaurant she had always liked. Maybe her anger came from the fact that their own lawyer had now stepped away after learning the truth. We sat down. Mark stayed silent at first, then suddenly broke down. "Shelley, I'm sorry. Please help me. I can't live like this. I'll do anything. Just come back," he begged, crying. I gave him a soft smile to calm him, then nodded to my lawyer. She handed Mark a document. He turned pale as he read it. His mother snatched it and screamed when she saw it. It was full of notes in red ink, breaking down all their lies. one by one. Then, in a burst of anger, she splashed water in my face. I just laughed. "You're right, I wasn't perfect," I said, "but I worked hard, I cooked and cleaned, I put up with your insults, I even gave up my own money." My lawyer then revealed a photo, Mark walking into a hotel with a young woman. It was Ashley, my former boss, and Mark's cousin. Everyone went silent. Mark looked like he wanted to disappear. Ashley explained what happened, confirming that she and Mark had been seeing each other. Right there, I handed over the final divorce papers and a claim for compensation. Mark started crying again. His parents looked broken. Later, Ashley told me that they had moved out of their home because they couldn't afford it anymore. Mark had been lying about his income the whole time, and now they needed help just to pay rent. Ashley's parents helped pay the compensation, including what Mark owed another woman he had deceived. And then something unexpected happened. Ashley started dating Mark's former lawyer. She said she admired how decisive and honest he was. As for me, I started a blog, writing about my story. To my surprise, it became popular and opened doors to new writing opportunities. Recently, I've been seeing a corporate executive I met through work. He's kind, supportive, and serious about our future. He even asked me to move in with him. I haven't decided yet, but as I sit at my computer, getting ready for tomorrow's date, I feel peaceful. No matter what happens next, I know this for sure, I've already come a long way.